Hi, and welcome to one of my favourite subjects in Excel. This is about making sure our model is right, stopping us making mistakes. I learned this the hard way many years ago. I made a slight mistake on a set of calculations. The end result was out by around £500 million. If it hadn't been spotted, would probably have bankrupted the company. As it was, made me look a right tit. So I took on a new approach to testing for errors, developed a few tricks which I now use regularly, use in most models I create. Anything of any importance needs significant error testing and a nice, slick, neat approach to it. And I've seen some pretty poor approaches where people are trying to use yes or no to see if something is working or not. Don't use it. Use true and false. True and false work really well in Excel. They're not so neat to the reader. We're not used to reading true and false. We like things like yes and no. But true and false are fundamental principles of Boolean algebra. And so there are lots of logical formulas we can use in Excel that will work very easily on true and false statements. So what are we looking at here? I have a random set of numbers I created. You've maybe seen another of my videos where I show you how to just generate some random numbers for use in a model where you don't care what the numbers are, you just need some numbers to work with. I have simply set up a test here to look at the total. I have said, well, my totals need to be between 2,000 and 4,000. I can see my current minimum is below that, my current maximum is above that. And then I'm asking, are all of my totals within my boundary 2,000 to 4,000? And so quickly I can change my boundary. So I say, actually, what if it's between 1,000 and 5,000? All of my tests pass, and look, I've got this nice green bar at the top of my file. Wherever I am in the file, everything's green. Brilliant. But for these purposes, right now, I want to show that I've got a problem. And now look, bright red, easy to spot, doesn't matter where you are in the file, it's clear something is not right. Okay? All of the tests that I will put in the file will pull back to a single page that will collate those results and then get passed out to every individual worksheet. So no matter where I am, if something fails, I can see what's failed. If I've moved a piece of data and inadvertently caused a ref error somewhere, I know what worksheet that's happened on as soon as it's happened, because I use this approach. So let's look at sort of approach you might see. Here I'm saying, okay, is the lower boundary okay? So if the value is above the lower boundary, then yes, it's okay. Otherwise, it's no, it's not okay. And the same test with high or the higher boundary. Is it lower than the upper boundary? And if that is yes and that is yes, then yes, otherwise no. And I've seen this. I see this all the time. People are trying to put together these logical steps, saying if this, then that. And we can reproduce the same thing using true or false much, much more easily. We don't need an if this, then it's true, and if that, then it's false, because the natural result from a logical test is true or false. So straight away, we don't need our if statement. My test simply becomes H5 greater than C27. So is the value greater than the lower boundary? Equals value greater than that, true or false. Okay, so I've got rid of my convoluted if statement. And then, because we're now dealing with Booleans, trues or falses, rather than say if this is true and that is true, I simply equals and. So my test is equals and those two values. And more easily written in a single test, equals and lower value is good, upper value is good. I have a single test, easy to read, that tests that individual row. And now, because I'm working entirely with booleans here, I've got lots and lots of individual tests. My audit test that I will do later on another worksheet doesn't want all of these tests. It just wants the summary. So here I have another and. So I'm simply testing all of the tests on this sheet to return what is the final status of this sheet, true or false, and then that is the test that will get carried forward. And you'll have seen some conditional formatting on here. We've seen we've got some red and we've got some green. Let's apply a quick bit of conditional formatting to this cell. I'm going to do it via a piece of code. Again, another of the very first pieces of code I wrote after having my problem at this particular employer. I realised that my tests all the time I liked green and red. Green is good, red is bad, everybody knows this. So let's have a standardised set of conditional formatting where anything that is true is green, anything that is false is red. And pretty much anything you want to do on a spreadsheet as a test can be brought down to true or false. So again, we're moving away from yeses and nos and high value, low value, true or false. All you need, true or false. So this piece of code, I'll make it available as a download to support this video. Anything within the selection, we delete any existing format conditions, conditional formatting, and we apply a formula. If it's true, it's color 4. If it's false, it's color 3. So I'm going to run this piece of code on my selection. And look, it's red because it's false. Conditional formatting turns green when it turns true. Brilliant. I have some other logical tests on some other worksheets just for examples of things. Let's say this one failed as well. I haven't got a real test here. I'm just going to turn it false. Look. On my sheet header, I've got an error. Sheet 1, the test has failed. Sheet 2, the test has failed. Not very helpful, doesn't tell you what the tests are, but that's purely a case of writing something useful in my audit sheet. So we'll turn that one true, and straight away the error is gone. How is it doing this error then? So what I've got an audit sheet here where I have a table of audit test results. I pull the values through from wherever, so my sheet 1 test to make sure that everything is within the upper and lower boundaries, and then my other 2 tests which weren't really anything, just for example purposes. I can use formula text to extract that formula there. Okay, so it tells me the text that's in there. And the reason for doing that is that I can then apply some text formulas to extract the sheet name. I am finding where the exclamation mark exists, and because it's a formula looking at another worksheet, it will exist. Unless, of course, I'm referring to a named range. So I've got to be careful not to refer to a named range in this particular test. And I will extract everything after the exclamation mark, which is the reference, so that pulls back just equals sheet 1, and then I will get rid of any apostrophes that exist around the sheet name. They only exist where there's a space within the sheet name, so I've put a space in there just for example so we can see them. So they get cleaned out. And then the equal sign gets cleaned out as well, and that's what this formula is doing. So this tells me the sheet name, and then I type in a generic error message. So this particular one I might type exceeds boundaries. The values don't meet the required test. And that can be any error message I want. It's something that will mean something to me if it appears later. So if the test fails, if B3, and again, it's not if B3 equals true, it's if B3, because B3 is either true or false, because I'm using Boolean logic as standard in my test. So if true, my test has passed, and therefore there is nothing there. Otherwise, I'm going to combine my sheet name and my test error message and return, in this case, sheet 1 test failed. And I'm then using text join with a semicolon to join together all my test failures. So if I go back to sheet 2 and turn that false, come back to my audit sheet, now I've got that test has failed and that test has failed. But I might do something wrong and get a ref error I've dropped through. And what I can't have is my error message showing ref error. Yeah, it just looks bad. It might highlight there's a problem, but it looks appalling. You must try and do everything you can to handle errors like this. So I've stuck an if error at this step. So if there's an error, well, there's a modeling error now. It's still going to report there's an error, but I know what it is, and it's handled better. And I know that wherever I am on the file, that there's a modeling error. What is it? Come back to my audit sheet. Okay, where is it? There's a ref error. There's a ref error. Oh look, it's on this test here, and I know what's gone wrong. So this audit sheet, when something does fail, it gives you a quick view back to where that failure happened. So you don't waste lots of time hunting around your file to see what's gone wrong. You instinctively know where the error is. So if I've got a test failure, I simply stick the word error on it so I know there's an error. So if I come back and correct that logical test, and let's say I adjust my boundaries so that that logical test passes, I have no errors encountered. Text join defaults to blank. My reported status is blank, and therefore model is okay. And my conditional formatting in this case, which I've created here, my conditional formatting, if it's model okay, it's green, anything else is red. So no matter what the error message, it will be red. Model okay, green, brilliant. So that's my conditional formatting there. And I can copy this. I have named this cell model status. So my conditional formatting actually applies to a named range called model status. So I can copy this cell anywhere I want within the file. And the conditional formatting refers to model status. And so if I create a new worksheet, so I've got a new sheet here, I can copy in my formatting nice and easily, and first thing I know is that my model is still good. Okay, so we are preventing errors, making it easy to trace them when they occur, and making it absolutely clear where they've occurred, and giving us a full audit trail and better confidence that we have a good model at our fingertips. Okay, good luck with your modelling, and thanks for watching.